7.24 is upon us, and there are some new meta heroes, some great changes within this patch, and I'm excited to be bringing you the top 10 heroes that I think are good in this patch. We got 9 new ones, we got one that was good in the last patch, and let's get straight into it. If you guys are excited for patch 7.24 and want to see pros play the heroes that are probably going to be buffed or that are going to be very popular this patch, go check out the gameleap website. Over there, I'm going to be doing pro replays, and we are having a 50% off winter sale right now. Guys, it's unbelievably cheap. Probably cheaper than anything else you've ever bought, any other subscription you've ever purchased. And it's your boy Speed trying to create content for you guys so I can continue to make YouTube videos that you guys enjoy. So please click the link down below, and hopefully I'll see you there. So the first one I want to discuss is Mid AA. If you did not see what his changes were, basically what happened is that he got Ice Blast kill threshold increased from 10% to 12% at level 1, but it also goes up to 14% at level 3, right? So basically, your Ice Blast is more guaranteed to kill, and I can't stress enough how close you come to dying to Ice Blast, but live on 30, 40, 50 HP. I feel like it happens a ton against this hero. In addition, he gets this random level 10 talent, and the reason I say random is if you're a support and you're maxing Chilling Touch, you're a psycho, right? However, if you're a mid laner and you're maxing Chilling Touch, that's pretty normal. And now at level 10, he has a 175 Chilling Touch attack range. That seems very weird, right? Very weird for a support. I think what Icefrog is trying to do is make AA a mid laner. He's trying to really push this hero towards becoming a mid laner ever since he made Chilling Touch more of a core ability than a support. And I'm sorry to break it to you, if you're taking Chilling Touch and maxing out as a support, I kind of dislike you as a human being. But really, this buff has kind of convinced me that this hero is moving in that direction and should be, at minimum, experimented with. So try it out and let me know how it goes. By the way, if you feed, I am not liable. You do not have insurance on your MMR. I do not insure you. It's not what we do here at gameleap, so your loss is not my fault. But getting on to the next hero, we have Death Prophet mid lane. Obviously, that's not much of a change from the old Death Prophet. You can still play it safe lane as well, as this hero was also a safe laner. In fact, there were some teams that were no joke picking Death Prophet as a support. So yeah, this hero is pretty flexible, but if you didn't know what she got 1 extra armor, 5 extra movement speed, but in my opinion, most importantly, huge buff to Spirit Siphon, decreasing the cooldown by 15 seconds at level 1, 12 at level 2, 9 at level 3, and 6 at max. And this really adds up, because any charge-based ability, if it gets a cooldown nerf, is automatically much better than it will seem at face value. And therefore, I just think this really gives Death Prophet the ability to be much more high tempo. 1 armor on a hero that relies on being tanky and 5 movement speed is essentially health. Like 5 movement speed is basically health. Maybe you guys can't see it like that, but how I look at it is the faster you move, the less spells you're going to hit by, the less auto attacks that are going to be able to connect with you, because simply you're going to be out of range quicker. And overall, just think this is a nice quality of life change to Death Prophet that helps her become a meta hero. Next up is one I am convinced will definitely at least be experimented a fair amount. Let's say you can experiment from things on a scale of 1 to 10. I think this hero by pros will be experimented on a rate of, let's say, 5. Reason being is, I think Clinkz has been good for a bit now, like a hot minute. Reason being is that his new Death Pact and Skeleton Walk, I don't even think people know what they do, but they're pretty good. I'll read it in a second. Just to really say what his patch did, right, what he got patched on, is that Burning Army base damage was increased by quite a bit. It's from 24% to 28 at level 1, which is the biggest notable part. It was also 26 level 2, now it's just straight 28 flat, which is the same as what it was when it was maxed out previously, which is just nice for the early game. It helps this hero be a little bit better. And I know this isn't a massive change, right? It's not like, oh, Clinkz is completely revolutionized, but I'm pretty sure this hero was already good. In fact, I was looking on Dota 2 Pro Tracker earlier, and it had a 61% win rate, which is impressive. But going back to the patch, Death Pact, it now gains health. Also, what it does is if you get a kill, it basically resets your Death Pact, which is kind of weird, but you gain this permanent damage bonus as well. And also when you Death Pact, it gives you armor reduction. So essentially, for 55 seconds, you just have 5 armor reduction when it's maxed out. You get to eat a big creep, which helps you with farming, and you gain 550 health. Not only that, right, to top this all off, Skeleton Walk gives you attack speed when you come out of it, right? Which is weird. The thing is, it prevents you from having to just strafe every single time you want to farm. Now you can go invis, right? And that can basically be all of your damage. You don't have to use 2 spells to gank people. You don't have to use Death Pact. In fact, Death Pact is actually a very low amount of spell. It's only 60, which is not too hard to deal with, and Skeleton Walk is only 75. So the thing is, I really think Clinkz is a mid laner because the biggest dilemma to this hero is the fact that it needs a ton of levels. You want to max out all 3 of your core abilities, so if you're going to play Clinkz, I do not recommend him in the side lanes. I think this hero is way too level dependent on that, and is actually a fairly decent mid lane hero, so give it a shot. And the last thing I want to say about Clinks is I think there's some viability in literally when you're laning mid, just because I forgot to mention this earlier, when you can just no joke take death pact at level 1, walk up to the lane, and eat a creep. Reason being that this is effective is it gives you health, right? 250 health, which is a ton. It gives you armor reduction, but most importantly, it's going to shove the lane, which is nice because Clinks doesn't want the lane shoved on him because he's a ranged hero that only has single target abilities. Next up, we have Jug, and Jug got a real quality of life change within this patch. And what its quality of life change was 4 base damage, which is a very big base damage increase. It's going to help you last it better and trade far better, right? Jug has a very high base attack time. Your hero attacks a lot, right? Your hero naturally just attacks a lot, so any base damage increase is a big deal. Also, you got base movement speed, so you combine that with base damage, and you're essentially getting far more damage as long as you are good at attack moving. It also lets you track down people with spin, and even disengage within the laning stage. Like, it's just such a nice quality of life change to a hero that I don't think was necessarily bad. Like, I don't think Jug is a bad hero. I just think ever since he got his spin nerf, he's been much worse of a laner, and that was kind of his niche. But now that he gets these laning buffs, or I guess just stat buffs, he's a better laner once again, which can help spiral him into the meta. So I'd recommend picking him with heroes like Lich or Winter Wyvern if you want to have some success. Next up on the list, we have safe lane Medusa. The reason why I say safe lane is I think there's some viability in protecting this hero and making sure she gets free farm. One pro team did this at the major, and I think it worked extremely well, so I wanted to put it on here. Also, Medusa got some really nice changes. She got her intelligence gain increased from 3.4 to 4, which is 0.6 of an increase. Huge for a hero that obviously relies on intelligence to stay alive. That's a massive intelligence gain increase. Also, her Stone Gaze movement speed, and if you don't understand what this means, it basically anytime you use Stone Gaze, you just zoom. You get 50% movement speed now, an increase from 35%. Your hero is literally a race car during Stone Gaze, which lets you obviously get in front of people and just reposition with this spell. So yeah, overall, I don't feel like Medusa is an awful hero. Unfortunately, it doesn't steal mana anymore, which I feel like was one of the biggest buffs of this hero. But now that Dota is slowing down once again, and I feel like the game is becoming more slower and slower pace with, you know, the cutout of shrines and less GPM, XPM talents, actually none. I don't know why I said less, there's literally none. I feel like this hero is getting better, these buffs are nice, and I think you want to protect her in lane with any sort of Undying, who actually got buffed as well. And actually is in this video, or just, you know, a hero like Dane or Lich or whatever it is in the laning stage, because if you get Medusa off to a good start, she can scale fairly well as long as you play the hero quite a bit. Next up is a hero I'm very excited to see how it does. It doesn't get like a crazy change, it's like a really basic change, but it's one I'm excited for, which is the base health regen increase for Spectre from 0 to 1.5. I feel like Spectre was kind of okay already. Like, I don't think the hero was good by any means. It needed a buff, but it wasn't like abysmal, right? If you picked it in the right game, like let's say as a counter to Drow in a match where you could protect it, it felt okay, and now it's just so much more tanky within the laning stage, which is a big weakness of Spectre, his ability to sustain the laning stage. And now that's just not as much of a problem. As long as you eat a lot of tangos and have this obviously buff, which you're always gonna have, you're gonna sustain well. In addition, I recommend you pick them with Lich. I know Lich is just like, I feel like I'm saying pick heroes with Lich, but Spectre with Lich is so good. It lets Spectre man up in the laning stage and actually be able to kill people. It's really, really convenient. So yeah, just try this out. I think Spectre is a hero that is going to be tested with because he's better in the lane now. I do expect him to not be great, but I expect him to be like a 49 or maybe a 51% win rate hero, probably much higher in pubs. I'm sort of referring to the pro scene when I say that, and pubs will probably be even higher considering how good Spectre typically is in pubs. Next up is, oh god, I literally don't even want to talk about this hero. I'm not kidding, I sort of don't want to talk about it, but Techies. Techies is probably the weirdest change of this patch, because now Blast Off self damage has been changed from pure to magical, and all that means is you can buy items to deal with Blast Off damage. And also, just to really top it off, at level 20, instead of your GPM, you now have minus 28 seconds to Blast Off cooldown, which means it is a 7-second cooldown on Blast Off. And if you look at Techies, there's a lot of talents that work with Blast Off. Actually, all of his talents up to level 20 work with Blast Off. Number 10, I don't know why I said number 10, level 10, 25 magic resistance, which helps you deal with the Blast Off damage. Level 15, 300 Blast Off damage, which when it's maxed out is a 900 damage AoE nuke plus silence. By the way, it's a 7-second silence. 7 seconds. You know how long that is? And at level 20, you obviously get this minus 28-second blast off cooldown, making it a 7-second cooldown. So basically you can perma-silence people. Not really with all the obviously animations that the spell has, but I'm going to be recommending a couple things. I've tested this out in the lobby quite a bit, and what I can say is blast off self-damage, number 1, does not cancel blink dagger, right? So you can buy a blink, you can blast stuff in, especially when you're level 20, so you can buy the blink much later on when you're approaching the level 20. You can go in, you can blast stuff in, blink out. Or you can obviously, if they have a lot of blink cancels or you think you'll get hit by AoE spells, as you can't instantly blink as you hit the ground, it takes a little bit of time, you can buy a Force Staff just to get out as well. I recommend you buy an Aether Lens to initiate, right? So you have that extra cast range to make sure you can get big blasts off, and a Hood of Defiance, right? This sounds weird, but yes, you can pop the Hood of Defiance and it helps deal with the blast off self-damage. So you can get multiple blast offs in a fight. You can get up to 3, I would say, right? You could even get 4 or 5, maybe even 6 if the fight really lasts that long. But realistically, with your level 20 talent, you're gonna get 3 blast offs off, which is great because it helps Techies be this hero that can actually participate in teamfights. Believe it or not, guys. You can now participate in teamfights with Techies. Next up is Undying, and I know I mentioned it earlier about being a position 5 with Medusa, only because I think that lane is kind of nice. Undying just secures the early levels for Medusa, and then she can jungle afterwards. But here, I'm going to be recommending off-lane Undying. I don't think it's necessarily meant to be played as a 5 in the way they're changing it. It certainly can be, but Undying probably got the biggest buff of the patch. At least, I think so. I think he got the biggest buff of the patch from first glance. Reason being, I think Flesh Golem got giga buff. What happened to it? Well, the debuff duration is now from 5 to 6, meaning people tick for 6 seconds, right? The damage it deals, and also they get slowed for 6 seconds, and it's a huge slow, right? Flesh Golem is a huge slow, and what the slow is 40%. It's a 40% slow. That is one of the highest numbered slows in the entire game, considering it lasts for 6 seconds. It's really a crazy spell, and it's so good at controlling teamfights, considering Tombstone also slows. You are a menace in teamfights right now. And not only that, really just to top it off, your Flesh Golem now lasts for 10 more seconds. You last for 40 seconds. It gives you a ton of strength to really level up. And you also get 30 movement speed now. So as long as you can stay alive, you can just tick people out, slow them down, and punch them to death. In previous patches, Flesh Golem also got buffed, right? In 7.23c, it got a buff in damage, 10 more damage at all levels, which really notably, its biggest spike is 10 more damage at level 6, where you now hit a huge spike. And what I recommend, because it is a strength multiplier, and this is very important, guys, keep this in mind, if you're playing offlane Undying, you buy a ton of stats. So I recommend 2 bracers and a magic wand to really make sure that you're taking advantage of this strength multiplier and hitting an early game spike where you can brawl with your team and take over the early game fight. If you don't do this, I don't think the hero is really going to be played at its peak. And really following that up, just buy a bunch of tank items. I don't really recommend the Axe. I think you should just play around the Flesh Golem slow and DPS over time to get maximum value out of this hero. Next up, we have Warlock, and Warlock did not get major changes. I just want to say, I think Warlock was fine previous to this patch. I don't mind Warlock as a hero, and now considering they're really like closing all the objectives together and they're all in the jungle, you can get big ultis off. I mean, you could actually with the other outpost locations as well, and with these choke points and basically forced team fights, it can be really nice for Warlock to get off his big ultis. The only downside to the hero is that his long cooldowns kind of prevent him from keeping up with the high tempo or the timings that you have to deal with, such as shrines. Like, let's say you ulti at minute 9, you're not going to have your ulti for a 10-minute fight, but that doesn't really mean a hero's out of the meta. His change he got in this patch is that his cooldown on Shadow Word was reduced by 2 seconds, which is actually a big deal for the laning stage and even just doing damage and healing people in teamfights, right? Your hero kind of relies on this spell in the early game to trade, to heal, so having more of it is great, and it's not like you're gonna have mana issues just because it's off cooldown more, because you don't have to buy that many supporting items. Actually, they're basically all free, so you can buy a ton of mangoes, you can buy a ton of claries, and solve this issue completely. And that's why I think Warlock's good. Max your Fatal Bonds, you can farm, you can scale, he's a great support for solo queue for that reason. He even sustains the lane completely well. It's a very basic formula. Sustain your lane, buy mana regen, push in waves when there's nothing to do. If you have ulti, go take a team fight, and farm whatever item you need to in the downtime. And finally, last but not least, I'm sorry if this is a disappointing end to the video for all you new meta innovation players. I think 9 has been enough, or at least 9 new meta heroes. I'm giving one that was good last patch, one of my favorite heroes, and that is Winter Wyvern 4 and 5. And the reason why I'm saying this is I don't think this hero got nerfed. I think it was probably the best hero of the sorry, I'm not gonna say the best. It was one of the best heroes of the last patch, It did get a base strength reduction from 26 to 24, meaning it has 40 less HP at level 1. Its Cold Embrace got changed a bit, but it wasn't much of a nerf because they increased the base heal but lowered the percentage heals, so it's actually a little bit better earlier on into the game. And you still have your 60 damage talent, and if you guys haven't tried out 60 damage talent Winter Wyvern, all you have to do to win teamfights is curse some support, W them, Q, and auto-attack them with 60 damage. You no joke can kill anyone. If you guys were watching the Major, you've probably seen players like Yapsor rush an Orchid and solo kill people by ulting them, Orchiding, taking 60 damage, and clicking their Q. That's legitimately it. I don't think this hero got nerfed much at all. I still think it's super meta if you are good at it. And yeah, best of luck, guys. Also, I'm going to say that I think Lich is still broken, so pick Lich while you can. Good luck. If you want to gain MMR, pick Lich as a position 5, you're welcome. But thank you guys for watching the meta heroes of 7.24F. I'm probably going to be soon making a goofy builds of 7.24F. What I mean by that is just weird things to try out in this new patch. I'm excited to be doing that because, you know, who doesn't like being creative in Dota? That's why this game is so beautiful, because you can do anything. That's beautiful. It's great. And hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. If you guys are excited for patch 7.24 and want to see pros play the heroes that are probably going to be buffed or that are going to be very popular this patch, go check out the gameleap website. Over there, we are having a 50% off winter sale right now. Guys, it's unbelievably cheap, so please click the link and hopefully I'll see you there.